Just to confirm, the meeting is now live.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first virtual meeting of the Solent Transport Joint Committee. My name is Councillor Rob Humby. I'm the Deputy at Hampshire County Council and Vice Chair of this committee, and I will be chairing for the first part until we elect a new chair. Now, so the first part will be very formal, and I just want to cover a few details about how we are able to manage this meeting virtually. So we're meeting virtually in response to the limitations placed on governance by the COVID-19 pandemic. Until recently, the law stated that all members had to be present in the room to make formal decisions at meetings. However, the law was amended in response to the COVID-19 emergency, and the councils are able to hold public meetings virtually. This will be in accordance with the local authorities' coronavirus flexibility of local authority meetings, and it's the regulations 2020 number 392, the regulations. Members of the public are invited to view the meeting, and there has also been an opportunity for written representations to be submitted. Now, this is a new experience for many people. Some of us do 7 or 8 hours of these sort of meetings continuously, and we still forget to turn our mics on and off sometimes. So just remember that we're trying to what we're trying to achieve today. So appreciate that. So what I want to do now, I'm not going to run through everybody present, but I am just to confirm, would like to confirm, please, that the members are present. So when I ask you, please just confirm, turn your mic on and off and confirm that you are present. So, Councillor Ward, just confirm your presence, please.
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Stagg?
Yes, Chair, I'm here.
Okay. And Councillor Leggett?
Yes, Chair, I'm here as well.
Okay. Thank you. What I don't propose to do is run through the whole list of those present. I think what we'll do after we've elected a new chairman, when the chairman will just introduce the paper that we're going to discuss, and that the officer that will be speaking on it, they can clearly state their name and what their role is, please, if that's okay. Right, thank you for that. So now we're going to revert to the main agenda, and this is where we are now going to appoint a new committee chair and vice chair. So what I'm going to ask, please, if anybody of the members that are present would like to propose for the new chairman. If I may take liberty, as I've now got the microphone, I would like to propose that Councillor Ian Ward is the chairman, the future chairman of the Solent Transport Joint Committee. Do I have a seconder, please?
Yes, I will second that.
Okay, thank you. I think, Lynn, you were going to second as well, so I'm going to take that. Lynn, can I just get your confirmation that you're happy with that appointment?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I'd like to thank you all and thank Ian for being elected as the new chairman of the Solent Joint Committee, and thank the other 2 members for their agreement as well. And I think at this point now, Ian, I should stand down, put myself on mute, and then you now take over the meeting as the chairman of the meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Lynn and Steve, for your support. I really do appreciate that. This committee has always worked well. And I hope it continues to do so. You know, no reason why it shouldn't, so thank you very much. So I'll move on. Now we must appoint a vice chairman. So could I ask for nominations for the position of vice chairman?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to nominate Councillor Stagg to the position of vice chairman for the Solent Transport Joint Committee.
Thank you, Rob. I would like to second that, if I may. Steve, would you like to second that as well?
Yes, please. That will be good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Lynn, congratulations. You're the vice chair as well.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay. Right, so let's move on. Any declarations of interest? No? No? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the main body of the business then. The first major item is the business plan report. Can I ask Conrad Haig to introduce the report, please?
Certainly, thank you, Chair. My name is Conrad Haig. I'm the Solent Transport Manager, and I'm presenting the business plan report for 2021. The purposes of the report is to provide a plan which is legally required by the Solent Transport Partnership to deliver business in the period of 2021. Before I go into the details of that, can I just ask that we could, for a moment, recap on work that has been done in the interim period during the time of COVID-19 and since the last business plan ended. So Solent Transport has, as part of the COVID-19 response, advanced the proposed future transport zone work on drone logistics to provide an air bridge to the Isle of Wight for use of the NHS. That work was brought forward in partnership with Solent, with Southampton University, and resulted in a few significant firsts in terms of drone logistics. We've also done some work rebasing the Future Transport Zone programme to make sure that it is valid and in line with the new normal we find ourselves in a post-COVID world. And in addition, we have started a new normal campaign which is being broadcast on radio Wave 105 and other stations to promote a behavioural campaign to try and enhance and lock in the benefits of walking and cycling and working from home that we've seen during the period of the lock-in, and to try and ensure that that behaviour continues into the new normal to reduce traffic. In addition to this, we've also completed the Solent Rail Connectivity Strategy, which is a rail study which we'll be working on in more detail in the coming year. There has been a successful bid, as he previously mentioned, of £28.7 million from regarding the DFT and the Solent Future Transport Zone. I mentioned that we commissioned a report that reviewed the FTZ work that we committed to doing to the DFT, and that report suggests some changes in light of the COVID scenario. We will discuss that report later in the meeting. We've undertaken some other work to understand options for more efficiently running the sub-regional transport model upgrade. We've also undertaken work with PFSH to try and establish a statement of common ground, and work to commission transport assessments as part of that process have been undertaken. In addition, we are presently exploring the possibility of an e-scooter trial with the DFT. Bids are yet to be submitted, but ongoing work is taking place in that, and we've submitted an expression of interest. Promotion and media campaign around the drones trial, and as well as implemented a branding refresh and an update of our website. And we continue to work on the Solent transport strategy. However, that needs to be significantly amended in light of the COVID. Looking forward to 2021, as you can tell, Chair, and Joint Committee, there has been a significant amount of work already going on in this period, and we look forward to continuing that work. There's been some significant benefits to the region, not least through the Transforming City funds, and we will look to try and provide assurance for those funds as requested by the city regions. There's also been an extension to the Access Fund for 2021, and so we are continuing to work with the authorities in delivering that, and the Highways England M27, M3 travel to management work. Excuse me. We've the work on the FTZ requires us, as a result of COVID, to be quite agile. So we need to ensure that the FTZ is adapted appropriately to allow for a more agile approach in light of changes in the travel circumstances, and our business plan reflects that. If I may, can I move to staffing implications? Whilst the Solent Transport continue to be a staffing of 2.4 full-time equivalents, one manager, one principal transport, and a 0.4 FTE of a shared marketing resource, we are looking at potential to expand, however not funded directly via the authority's budgets. The budgets for these expansions will be coming from external sources, the first of which is the Future Transport Zone. And in addition, we are looking at the potential of a Transforming Cities fund, funded post or posts, depending on the final decisions made by the Senior Management Board regarding the assurance of those programs. The Future Transport Zones has a rapid start and will require us to ramp up our work significantly at high speed. Therefore, for the first 6 months, some of those posts will be covered via consultancy, but there will be a need to grow the organisation by 9.4 full-time equivalent posts in order to deliver that post. Many of these posts will be in different authorities, but will be part of the Solent Transport structure. Some will be allocated directly to the authority. Going forward, the core deliverables for this year are to deliver a new Solent Transport strategy, something we've already started working on, to commence delivery of the FTZ programme, as previously mentioned, which is now a 4-year programme, to provide assurance on the Transforming Cities, to continue to operate a sub-regional transport model and explore development and improvements to that model, to work in partnership with PFSH on the development of a statement of common ground, run potentially 2 planned conferences, though that is to be kept under constant review in light of COVID-19 limitations, and continue the My Journey and Solent Go New Normal marketing campaign, to complete the Solent Transport branding and website refreshers, and to assist in delivery of Work Package 3 for the Highways England travel demand management work. The fiscal implications of this are discussed in the next paper, which is the fiscal paper, which you will be reviewing. The one revision to the work that was done as a draft paper is around the sub-regional transport model. The sub-regional transport model is due for a refresh. We were due to have it in this year's business plan. There is a issue that the authorities over the coming period need to consider, which is whether the refresh is done at a minimum level, which requires a contribution from the authorities of a combined contribution around 100k, or whether the new developments to the project are done at a more advanced level to bring the model up to a higher level and increase its usability, which could add an extra 500 to 800k to that bill. However, it will provide a much more groundbreaking tool as part of that refresh. We were down to do this year. We would like to suggest that work is not done this year, mainly because of the state of the take it as a predictive normal pattern going forward. So we need to establish a solid year of data, and for that reason we would suggest this is delayed by at least a year in order for that to happen. We will work with the government to try and make sure that we can refresh the present model at minimum cost and try and keep it relevant, and to make sure that that facility is available to Solent Transport authorities in that interim period. That concludes the business plan. I'm happy to take questions, but we put this business plan forward for your acceptance and recommend your approval.
Okay. Thank you, Conrad, for that run through the business plan. I do have one question from Steve. Steve, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Conrad. I read the report with interest. I just wanted to maybe get a little bit more information around the new normal, because this is a new description that we're hearing quite a lot now. And you talked about the campaign about the new normal. Could you give us a little bit more information about that?
Certainly. The new normal is what people have started to talk about as what the scenario is as we come out of the lockdown for COVID-19. Now, the best way of thinking about this is something a model that I've seen Transport for the South East using, which is the new normal without a vaccine means that we are in lockdown with a potential lockdown coming back on, but still social distancing. Then there are other scenarios which suggest that vaccines could come in at different points, and of course they change the scenario depending on the effective case of the vaccine and how widespread it is. So we've got to get used to the idea that until some solution is found, that we could be in this scenario for a while, and therefore it is the new normal. The campaign, the marketing campaign, is to try and ensure that whilst we're in this scenario, people are making sure that they take advantage of the active travel behaviour they've undertaken during lockdown. So the walking, the cycling, and also the working from home that allows better transport, allows less stress in the transport system, but also better home working sort of environment in terms of the split of work and leisure time. So the campaign just looks to encourage that work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lynn, you have a question as well?
Yes, please. Thank you. The sub-regional transport model refresh, is that being done in conjunction with TFSC? Because they've obviously got their big one, and obviously
they have. We're talking to Transport for the South East about the model and the work that we're doing. They do rely on our model for a number of issues, and actually they were hoping to utilise it as part of the rail strategy work that we are doing, and their wider transport strategy for the area. So it is something that they're aware of, that we talk about, and we make sure we're connected with them on that. But I think our model takes in some more finer detail that is appropriate to the region. Their model tends to work on a slightly higher level across a wider region. So there are connections between their modelling and our modelling, but they're not the same. And we are having those conversations with them about where they're taking the model and how it works in conjunction with ours.
Thank you. It's just that I think we're making inroads and making our presence felt with TFSE. So I would want to see that sort of drop away, and so the two working side by side would be good. I appreciate the greater detail, but very often I think TFSE has got a different focus from what we have, and I think we need to make our needs well known to TFSE. Absolutely.
We are attending their integrated transport group and their transport strategy group, to ensure that the Solent Transport's areas views are well known and are listened to.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Now it's time for comments. Rob, I believe you have a comment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of points, and just picking up on the point from Councillor Stagg there. I think one thing we are good at is demonstrating our joint working and how we work in partnerships, and that's for the benefit of, from TPSE point of view and Solent Transport right across the South East. So I think we have a strong partnership working. I agree with the points you made, but I think it is recognised that we all need to work very closely together for our benefit. In one respect, Mr. Chairman, thank Conrad for a very thorough and full report. And on that point, I think probably it was remiss of me right at the very beginning not to thank the previous chair, Councillor Jackie Raymond, who, with a lot of this work was undertaken, and her commitment and enthusiasm, and I might dare I say, Mr. Chairman, her honesty in terms of how she approached things was absolutely superb. And so I do apologise, Jackie, for that, but if we can formally record that, and I'm sure you'd have done the same, Mr. Chairman, and I probably should have formally welcomed Councillor Leggett as well. So, Steve, I apologise for that. So, welcome to this committee. I think you can see how it runs. It's an excellent report. And this joint venture and joint working, I think, is a credit to all the authorities and to the officers from all those authorities as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Rob. I'd actually written down on my paper here to thank Jackie for the work she had done. And Steve, if you would transmit to Jackie our thanks for her and our best wishes for her new role.
Yes, certainly, Chair. And I'd like to reiterate that when you take over a responsibility, you couldn't have asked for a better position to be in. I work very closely with Jackie. I sit next to her, so she's been very supportive of me anyway. So thank you, and I'll pass on that message.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments before I put forward a recommendation?
Nothing for me, Chairman. No.
Okay. There is no actually stated recommendation in the paper, but I will read out basically what it says. We have two options. Option one is the minimum update, and option two is to explore the wider update and refresh of the SRMT.
Chair, sorry, to interrupt. We're not looking for a decision on the SRTM today. It's just on the rest of the business plan.
Okay. Okay, well, in that case then, can I put forward the recommendation that we do accept the business plan as Conrad's described it? We need to record this formally, so I can see all three of you here. Can I ask you by name whether you support or not the business plan as recorded? I will start with Lynn.
Yes, indeed, my full support.
Okay, Steve?
Yes, I fully support it.
Rob?
Yeah, absolutely support, yes.
And of course I support it as well, Conrad. So that's all four. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Joint Committee.
Right, we move on to the next item, which is the financial report. Can I ask, is it Kate or Conrad? Who's going to do it?
Kate's down to do it.
Okay, Kate, thank you very much. Would you like to present the financial paper?
Thank you, Chair. Okay. So the first point to highlight really is the report has been approved via email under emergency powers. So I'll keep my presentation brief to cover the key areas, but happy to take questions and I'll do my best to answer them at the end. So as the last formal meeting of the Joint Committee was in February 2019, this report is a sort of catch-up report to put the headline financial information on formal public record. So there's a summary of 18-19 and 19-20 position in the main report, and then there's the appendix with some more detail about 18-19 and 19-20. So I was going to focus a little bit more on the proposed 2021 budget. So the current year and emerging pressures to highlight. Conrad's already talked about the SRTM, so it's already been covered in the business plan. Just to highlight that the balance held in an earmarked reserve currently at the end of 1920 is 361,000. and then work to start next financial year for reasons already covered by Conrad, but as he mentioned, further funding will be needed to complete the project. General running costs, there's a table in the report that highlights the trend for the past couple of years has been to reduce the general reserve balance, and the report proposes further drawdown on this reserve for the current year, but a more financially sustainable solution needs to be found going forward. And then in table 3 in the report shows a proposed budget for the year, keeping partner contributions at current levels and drawing on reserves, but we'll need to consider some other options. So a key recommendation, just to say, has already been agreed by Special Powers, is approved as an exception to the ongoing agreed arrangements for Solent Transport's financial management support, that the financial management and the accounting role for the future transport zone funding to be delegated to Southampton City Council to reflect the location of the programme of work and the lead role of Southampton City Council in developing and signing off the bid. That was really brief, but that was the key areas that I wanted to highlight, really.
Kate, thank you for that. Are there any questions? No? Any comments? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, I couldn't click my button quick enough. If I may, Councillor Rob Humby again. It's just to confirm, and thanks Kate for the presentation, that's great. In terms of under the recommendations, where we have approving exceptions to the ongoing agreement, this is the role that Southampton are doing in terms of the future transport zone, just to make it clear that Hampshire County Council are still the accountable body for everything outside of that area. And if that's okay, I think we should at least note that, if not maybe add to the recommendation, but I'm happy that a note is made just recognising that. And I also, just to confirm that at the moment there is no call on the membership of the authority for any future funding at this stage in terms of extra staff, that we are sort of where we are, but that any future, in terms of providing extra staff, is coming from the existing funds made available through the government funds or the future transport zone. I think probably just to have that clear, and other staff will be potentially seconded from those authorities as well. But at the moment, to confirm, there's no call on those authorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Anybody else got any comments or questions arising now? Then I think we'll move to voting on the recommendations. I don't plan to read out the whole of paragraph 2 and the sub-paragraphs. I'm sure you've all got that paper in front of you. So what I will do, once again, I will formally ask you whether you support the report or not. Lynn?
Yes, completely support. Thank you.
Okay. Steve?
Yes, I support.
Rob?
Yes, I support, with that caveat that we put a note under the para 2.6 as mentioned.
Okay, thank you. And I support as well. So, thank you, Kate. Right. Well, we are getting through this, aren't we? The next major item is the future transport zone briefing. So, Richard, I'm assuming you will do this.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I am down to deliver this report, and thank you, joint committee members. So, firstly, to introduce the context of this report, I think that everyone on this committee is very well aware that the country is at the cusp of some quite significant changes in mobility, largely being enabled as a result of, shall we say, electrification and digital technology, which means that more and more we're seeing app-based mobility where one's smartphone is used to plan, pay, etc. for many modes of transport, as well as also new modes of transport, be that electric vehicles, electric bikes, or perhaps e-scooters. So the government, one of their key policy areas of the DFT is undertaking tests and trials to understand basically what works, what doesn't, how to get best value, and how to get value for UK PLC from the adoption of these modes of transport. They therefore last year made available something called the Future Transport Zone Fund, which was opened up to all city regions which are eligible for Transforming Cities Fund, which includes both the Portsmouth and the Southampton city regions in the Solent area. A bid to the DFT's Future Transport Zone Fund was submitted by Solent Transport, which cuts across and engages both city regions, and this was submitted last September. Members have been previously briefed on the content of this, so I won't dwell in detail on what was in the original bid. The good news is that the Department of Transport in March this year informed us and announced that the Solent bid has been successful, and we have been awarded around £28.75 million for delivery of a programme of transport experiments, trials, etc. in the Solent area. The Department of Transport funding was for doing the due minimum level of funding of most of the projects in our original bid, but they have provided the due maximum level funding for the drone logistics trials, which have actually been fast-tracked. Some elements have been fast-tracked, I'll come on to in a minute. However, certain elements of the original proposal were not funded, particularly a multi-purpose vehicle trial and trials of delivery consolidation at halls of residence in universities. An additional semi-condition of funding, not specifically written into the funding agreement, but the DFT would like us to undertake a trial of e-scooters. That's something that all their future transport zone areas are requested to do. And I will come on briefly onto that in a second. Firstly, recommendation 2.1 concerns the acceptance of this funding, and recommendation 2.2 concerns that funding being held and responsibility for delivering the programme lying, in this case, with Southampton City Council, but noting very much that is an exception, as mentioned in the finance report, to the normal ongoing Solent Transport finance responsibilities which rest with Hampshire County Council. All of the above said, it's quite clear that our proposal, it was written for a pre-COVID time. If coronavirus hadn't happened, then the next couple of pages of the report would not have been necessary. That what has happened, and we anticipate some quite significant long-term changes to people's transport and travel behaviour and preferences as a result. Therefore, it would be fairly irresponsible of us not to review our programme and to try to identify ways of adapting it so that it will perform better and still deliver value for money in the new normal which we find ourselves in now. To this end, in late March, shortly after we were informed that we were being offered the funding, we commissioned Atkins Consultancy to undertake a piece of forecasting work looking at what a new normal might look like and at the various stages of achieving that, and therefore how we might wish to modify our future transport zone programme in order to adapt. The Atkins review is provided in appendices 2 and 3 of this report, and I won't dwell at length because they're quite lengthy documents, but on page 7 of this committee paper is a summary of the Atkins recommendations on how we might adapt some elements of the FTZ trial. The most significant recommendations are around shared vehicular-based transports. We planned quite a large demand responsive transport service, DDRT, as well as lift share projects. which are aimed at getting people onto an app and then onto a wider multi-transport platform. The reality is at the moment it's going to be very difficult to convince members of the public, and indeed the government recommendation at the moment is to avoid public transport where possible. That's probably going to persist for some time to come. We therefore, at least in the first year, we just don't feel that they're advisable to progress. Funding from those projects could be reallocated to enhancing schemes which are more likely, we feel, to see public benefit and public usage, notably enhancing or delivering e-scooter share trials subject to agreement, and also enhancing and accelerating one of the consolidation projects and the cycle share trial project. There's a few other recommendations as well, which I won't dwell on too much, but I'm happy to inform members that we have engaged with the Department of Transport on this. As we understand it, we're actually the first future transport zone to set forward some programme alterations in response to COVID. DFT's initial response was reasonably positive, but with some caveats, and I think that we will need an ongoing dialogue with the department as the situation evolves. Therefore, to that end, recommendation 2.3 is for members to agree to the principles of the changes to the programme, which are briefly covered and which are set out in this report, but also to delegate authority for further changes within the programme to be made by relevant parts of the governance structure, which I will come on to in a second, depending also on Department of Transport engagement. It's also, I'd like to just flag up and the committee to note some of the progress which has been made, particularly with the drone medical logistics project, which the Department of Transport and the University of Southampton, our key partner, as well as ourselves, at the request of the NHS, have fast-tracked some elements of in order to provide an option for the transport of certain goods across the Solent, certain medical goods, to help assist the coronavirus response. So therefore, through use of an aerial drone operating from Solent Airport, Lyon Solent, to a location on the Isle of Wight, this has been made available as an option, and it's achieved, I'm told, at least 5 UK aviation firsts in just a couple of months. I won't list all of them, but notably the first delivery of an NHS payload by a drone in the UK was achieved by this project. Also, I think it's fair to say we've had very considerable learning very early in the project, particularly around dangerous goods handling, which will really benefit the project as it hopefully proceeds in the plan or a more planned manner in future years. Moving to through page 9, we've briefly mentioned an e-scooter trial. This is something which the Department of Transport is now very keen to see fast-tracked. The Secretary of State for Transport sees e-scooters as being something which can potentially benefit the coronavirus response. We were developing a proposal which was to undertake e-scooter trials anyway, which would be subject to authorisation by all of our 4 authorities, plus the Department of Transport. These continue to be developed but at a faster pace, but members will have authorisation, I believe, by their individual authorities in the coming weeks for if this is a go or no-go. Moving on to page 10, this and most of the following pages concern how we propose to implement the Future Transport Zone programme. Firstly, paragraphs 3.34 to 3.39 cover the proposed governance arrangements, and Appendix 4 as well provides some details on this. Basically, the proposal is the highest level involving joint committee members, i.e. yourselves, a FTZ steering group which will be an accountable body and which will provide strategic level direction and decision making for the FTZ programme. Sitting beneath this, a senior officer based programme board which will deal with many of the more day-to-day and, if you like, tactical issues around the programme. which will comprise, as I said, senior officers, plus the Solent Transport Manager and the FTZ Programme Manager. There is a staffing chart which has been provided at Appendix 5 for the proposed structure, the establishment for the programme, which sets out some reporting lines, which also helps to inform how the governance will work. We propose that the FTZ Programme Manager have delegated responsibility for staff within that structure reporting to their posts, and that post, the FTZ Manager, will then work to decisions and directions from the Solent Transport Manager, who in turn will have several delegations, which I'll come on to in a second, from the boards above. In terms of employment, most staff are proposed to be employed by Southampton City Council for this specific project because they are the fund holder for this, although a couple of staff, 2 transport planners / project managers, are proposed to be employed directly within Southampton and Portsmouth's team. I should have added that whilst most staff would be employed by Southampton City Council, they would report into Solent Transport on a matrix management approach. So therefore, recommendation 2.4 concerns the governance approach set out and requests authorisation approval of that. Additionally, recommendation 2.5 recognises that we will need to make some decisions between now and some of these groups meeting for the first time, and that requests responsibility for some of those decisions to be delegated to Solent Transport Senior Management Board and the Chair of the Committee as required. Delivery of projects, another important element of governance, page 11, paragraphs 3.40 to 3.46. Basically what these paragraphs say is that different projects will need to be managed in different ways depending on the circumstances, but all of them will need to be run in line with at least with the relevant local transport authorities' project and programme management processes to provide that oversight and rigorous project management. That is essentially recommendation 2.6. Final recommendation is around rapid mobilisation. We have already, as has been noted, mobilised the drone project, but we're under quite a lot of time pressure to get other elements going. Therefore, we need to be able to get appropriate staff in post as quickly as possible, certainly in some interim positions which are actually highlighted in the delivery team structure. Therefore, authorisation is requested to authorise the Solent Transport Manager in consultation with other relevant officers to be able to secure staff to fill those posts immediately. I think that covers the main body of the reports. Just to note, obviously, in the finance and resource implications, all of the things I've said previous about responsibility for this specific project being with Southampton City Council, and table 7.1, obviously that is the funding breakdown as awarded by Department of Transport, but some of that, the allocation, could change as a result of the evolution of the programme. I don't think that there's anything else that I really need to cover requiring decisions, so I will hand back to the Chair.
Okay. Richard, thank you very much for a very comprehensive report. You certainly covered a wide spectrum there. My understanding of your report is basically you need our acceptance of your need maybe to accept change and delegated authority for the various functions that you're going to have to carry out. Is that essentially it?
Yes, Chair, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. Steve, you'd like to ask a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. First of all, Richard, thank you for the very detailed executive summary of a very big report. It was very interesting, and I enjoyed going through that. I think in this unprecedented, challenging time, we have to be nimble and agile I think that's a message I'm getting from you, and I totally agree with that. I just wanted to touch on the e-scooter situation, because there is two schools of thought here. I mean, currently it's illegal to ride an e-scooter on a public highway, but people are doing it anyway, and more people are doing it. And I know that the government are really pushing it. So how do we, because I've got public opinion for it and public opinion completely against it. So what comment would you have to that, please?
Certainly, thank you, Councillor. You've highlighted a lot of the issues which we are kind of, I wouldn't say grappling, but seeking responses, solutions to within the proposed e-scooter project development. And the Department of Transport have made it clear that they will only permit trials of shared e-scooters, a bit like cycle share schemes, which are provided by a e-scooter share operator, and that therefore on their trial they will include several requirements for users. That will include requiring users to have a driving licence, which you would hope provides some level of assurance and skills. It also means they can only be over the age of 16. On top of that, they are setting minimum standards for scooters to meet, including speed, maximum speed. But there are also potential for other levers for us, which I'll come on to manage behaviour. Other elements of the DFT requirements for trial which may assist with user behaviour in particular is identifying numbers, almost like a number plate for each e-scooter involved with the trial. So any operator that can't offer those features is unlikely, or hopefully won't be allowed by DFT to participate in a trial. On top of that, most e-scooters have got something called geofencing, which allows you to basically restrict speed or even cut power entirely if they head outside of the designated area. And there's flexibility on operators and the authorities commissioning them for any trial to set up or ban scooters from certain areas if issues arise. However, all of the above said, everything I've said is about the DFT sponsored trial. We are very aware, I see myself, that there are an increasing number of privately owned e-scooters being used by individuals. The trial will not legalise those. DFT's legislation will not permit that, but it will still be down to police to enforce against that. And that's a conversation which we'll be setting up with the police as part of our development of the e-scooter trial proposal.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Lynn, you have a question and a comment as well?
Well, yes, I mean, my question was the same as Steve's, actually. What concerns me, I mean, in theory, I think they're wonderful, and I've seen them operating in other parts of the world. But what worries me is the enforcement or lack of enforcement of the illegal ones all around. And it's and I hate to be ageist here, just because I'm old, but I mean, it tends to be the very young kids who are riding them, and very, very erratically and dangerously on the road. And unless we have the police enforcing, and I can't see how it's going to happen. I happen to know a local police officer, part of the road policing team. He's part of the team that serves South East Hampshire. There are 9 of them on the team, so at any one time there's only 3 on shift. And that is impossible to do, you know. So how the hell are we going to get the illegal ones banned or controlled? I think that the hired one's brilliant, but it does worry me safety-wise. And if we haven't, it's all very well the government coming up with these wonderful ideas, but they've actually got to enable us to put these in place and maintain them. You know, whether that means that we as councils can do anything about it, I don't know. But at the moment we can't.
Okay. Anyone got anything else? I've got one for Richard, but really expanding on Lynn's point about control and policing. And I thought to myself, I know some of these come in from abroad, but I read through the trial specifications, and it said there that effectively they had to have a license plate and the operator had to have a driving license. So I'm thinking to myself, then dealers should not be selling those unless the person buying it's got a driving license and it's registered to him. Just a thought. You know, that there's nothing stopping them coming in from abroad anyway. But anyway, there we go. Just a thought.
May I just quickly respond to that? It is something which we are aware that at least one e-scooter retailer has actually advertised in this area about e-scooter trial whilst selling private scooters, and we have asked them to alter some of their promotional material. But that's one retailer. There are, I presume, there's more.
Yeah, we might need some legislation somewhere along the line. But that will be a DFT issue, won't it, to make decisions in that direction? Okay. So we'll go to the vote. We have recommendations from 2.4, 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, which essentially is what I said after Richard's presentation, was to give the officers authorities to make change and basically give them the delegated authority to do that. Could I ask for your Rob, you put your hand up?
Yeah, I did ask to make a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
So apologies there. A couple of points. So the comment I made on the previous paper about the accountable body would clearly reflected, would need to be reflected in this paper as well under the 2.2. So sort of completeness and keep everything joined up. The same comment I made would have to be reflected on those recommendations as well. I would also, just if I may, just a very quick comment, that the paper recognising the situation we're in with COVID-19 and how people's attitude to transport has changed, it's great to see that the paper has reflected that. And I know Councillor Stagg and myself made those same comments at Transport for South East, and they have reflected that in their paper. So I think that should satisfy or put people's minds at rest that everything is joined up between Transport for South East and ourselves. And of course, other decision makers are recognising those things as well. Well, I think we shouldn't go to the recommendation, Mr. Chairman, without congratulating the officers. Certainly Richard, who was the main author of putting the bid in, we quickly skipped over 29 million, not an insignificant sum. So congratulations to him and the whole team, I would say, for doing that. What a great achievement. So well done to all of them.
Okay, yeah, I totally agree. Thank you very much, Richard. Right, let's go to the vote then. Do we accept Richard's report? Trust my phone to go off. Lynn?
Yes. Deeply.
Steve?
Yes, I accept it.
Rob?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman, with that same caveat under the accountable body as last time. Thank you.
Of course. And yes, I accept as well. That actually takes us to the end of the meeting, but I would like to say, firstly to the members, thank you for being gentle with me. To our officers, thank you so much for your contribution and the hard work that you put in on this project. And the reports are absolutely first class. I don't think we could ask for better. I do like to see that Solent Transport is but becoming more influential, I would think, within Transport for the South East. You know, I know we sort of have different objectives, but we're all working in the same direction. And I've seen Solent Transport over the last year or so actually growing in influence, and I think that's a very positive thing that's happening. So thank you all. Okay, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Can I just thank the Portsmouth officers as well for running it, Vicky and Peter.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Congratulations. Cheers.